everyone. Welcome back to the Families Fly Free podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Mettler, the creator of Families Fly Free, where we show you our simple system to always be able to fly your whole family for free wherever you want in the US, the Caribbean, and Europe. So today I'm back with another Miles and Points success story for you today. So I've got Andrew and Kiana Joyner joining me today to share their travel rewards journey and some of the tips that they have learned when it comes to miles and points. They're Families Fly Free members, and they're in their third year of membership, I believe. So welcome, Andrew and Kiana.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Will you guys share just a little bit about yourselves, where you live and your family, and kind of how you like to travel?
Sure. Myself?
Sure. Well, we are newly Texans.
Oh, okay. Where were you before?
We were in Minnesota when we first started the program, and now we relocated down to Texas just last summer. So the program really came in handy for all of that.
So whereabouts in Texas?
Around the Dallas area.
Okay. And so can you tell us a little bit about your family and the types of travel you like to do?
Yeah, so it's a family of three. We have a daughter who's about to turn 7. And, primarily we like to go on vacations. We've used our travel points to help facilitate some of the visits to the locations we were researching for our relocation. So family visits. We've actually had the opportunity to fly family members to come visit with us as a result of our travel points. So yeah, that's kind of the kind of travel we like to do. We actually have a trip planned for next month. It's a friends and family cruise that we orchestrated. And so the flight, at least to the port, we'll be using our points for that as well.
Awesome. And yeah, I love that you bring up, flying people to see you, because I think a lot of people don't realize that's possible to do that. So did you find like that you just had enough points to do that? And were you surprised to learn that it didn't just have to be you guys traveling, but you could use your points to pay for other people?
Yeah, I think that was great. It was great to know that that was an option and to see the points I just have accumulated with the spending that we've done, and to be able to have family that we left back in Minnesota, grandparents for our daughter, be able to bring them down where we can still stay connected was just really wonderful, and not have that barrier of the flight be an issue for them as well.
So let's rewind back to kind of how did you first get started in miles and points?
Well, that's really closely tied to our personal finance journey. When we were newly married, maybe a couple years into our marriage, we kind of found Dave Ramsey and his material on personal finance, and we wanted to get out of debt and things like that. For the intent to travel and stuff like later on, we wanted to have the financial freedom to do some of those things. So we went through that program. We, paid off our personal debts. That also is tied to one of our barriers that I'm sure we'll talk about later. We didn't have credit cards, things like that. But eventually we actually found the FIRE community, the Financially Independent Retire Early community. And a lot of them talk about travel hacking as a means for them to travel, for very low cost. And so when we heard about that concept, we started doing more research, and that's how we found the Families Fly Free community and your YouTube channel, and really started to listen to some of the things you had to say.
So you talked about Dave Ramsey. I think that's a good discussion point. So because I started in Dave Ramsey too, and his debt snowball and all that is a great program. But as you mentioned, you didn't have any credit cards. He always recommends 0 credit cards. So can you talk a little bit about how you kind of bridged that gap and felt comfortable adding some cards?
And I think a lot of it was doing all of our research and not having that debt gave us the option to be able to explore more thoroughly, okay, what can this look like? Because we're not balancing multiple credit cards or multiple debts or just the chaos that that can have. So we had one card to focus on at a time. And with the way that it's explained through this program, it makes it very simple and very clear. And there's videos and a whole hub of information to look into so you don't feel like you're going at it by yourself. So that really helped ease my mind a lot about what the process is because there's a framework and a blueprint for how to do it.
And you didn't feel like you're putting yourself at risk of getting into debt. Because that's really
Correct. Yeah.
what Dave Ramsey's concern is he just doesn't want you to get into debt again. But
Right. It's about not only the debt, but then also your own personal habits when it comes to money and how you spend money. And if you're the type that just has no discipline in using credit and being frivolous in your spending, then it can get you back into those same habits that got you into debt in the first place. So, we were really mindful of that because we never had credit cards. That wasn't credit debt wasn't a part of
okay.
our debt journey.
Mhm.
So that was just something we didn't have a whole lot of exposure or background to. We just kind of always had a more negative opinion of credit cards. So that was one hurdle we had to overcome if we wanted to, you know, go down this path. We had to be comfortable with at least leveraging credit cards in this context.
So can you tell me why you had a negative opinion of credit cards? I think that's interesting.
Well, I can speak for me. It's part of my upbringing. My family isn't wealthy or anything like that. And we just didn't have a whole lot of credit cards. And quite frankly, at certain points in time in my family's history, probably couldn't even qualify for most of them. It just was never really a part of the conversation. Coming up through college, then having that mindset, I went to college on scholarship primarily, academic scholarship. So I didn't really need credit and a whole lot of debt to get through college. So it just wasn't really a part of my financial vernacular.
Yeah, and on my side, it was seeing poor financial habits when it comes to credit and having to be cautious about answering the phone because it could, it's when there were more home phones.
Right, right.
Um,
Like you're having the bill collector.
yes, yes. Your parents are like, wait, who is that? Don't
Answer the
answer.
phone.
So we just didn't have much financial education. And so the idea of credit and seeing how it has really gotten people into some dark spots when they're not responsible with it was a bit nerve wracking. So it was easier to just stay away from it altogether. But when it came to this process, and just again, you explain it so simply and clearly, and that really helped have that blueprint of okay, this is how we do it. And that made a big difference.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like my upbringing, and I lived with my grandmother and my mother, and my grandmother was just always like, you pay cash for everything. And if you don't have the cash, you don't buy it. End of story. So I can't imagine her ever having a credit card. And I mean, I had that same negative opinion of credit cards too. And I imagine that's, kind of where it comes from, that you're supposed to pay cash for everything. But
Mhm.
so have you found any part of the process to be challenging?
Well, I think you don't know what you don't know. So that first initial card that we applied for was, the most nerve wracking for me. I was the first to kind of dive in. By this point, we were completely debt free. We owned a home. So it was relatively low risk for us where we sat financially. We, are pretty successful in our job. So we were fine. But it was still like that unknown, kind of overcoming the unknown and going down that path. Um, I think what was for me the biggest hang up was the business card.
Tell me about that.
So yeah,
That is
so
for a
like
lot of people.
yeah. So I mean, we did have a business, but I think we got caught up in the details. As I said, the devil's in the details. We started getting caught up on, well, what about how much revenue we have coming in and blah, blah, blah. And we had a YouTube channel, we had a website and stuff like that at the time that was a little bit more robust. And we're like, yeah, we're not lying. You know what I'm saying? When we apply for a business card. And I'm like, Lynn says it'll be fine. I mean, she's like, you could be selling stuff on Facebook and you'll be fine. So it's not a big deal. And I think we just had some trepidation on that piece. Now we wanted the program to work. And I think when you're doing something that's unfamiliar, you're just really apprehensive and kind of tentative. And that's kind of where we were until we went through the whole process.
That's also the benefit of the program because you have people guiding you and you can ask those questions and you all break it down step by step, click this button, and all of that, make this selection, put this date in and all of that. So it just made it much easier to go through it. So when I did the business card, I got approved right away because we had already gone through it, followed the process, watched the videos, and it was not a problem.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, like, what is the worst case scenario people think on the business card? Like, someone's going to come knock on your door and be like, your business isn't big enough. We shouldn't have given you this card. I don't know.
For me, I think it was it being declined and then like, well, now what? Right? Like, again, we spent the money on the program. We went through the first stage and we got, the points with the first card, and now we're at the second level, and it's like, if this doesn't work, did we just waste all that time, energy, and effort? And so I think for me, that's what was going through my mind. I don't know about you.
The fear of a decline.
Yeah.
But again, there's the resources. So we were able to just get back on it, know what to do to reapply, and then it was fine.
I mean, you can say it so comfortably because you got to go second. I was on the bleeding edge.
You were the guinea pig.
I got to make all the mistakes or whatever, and she just get to ride in on all the knowledge that was
ride the wave.
Well, and like Kiana's saying, like, that is why one of the reasons why I've created a program so that you're not left alone if you do get a decline, because it isn't uncommon to get a decline on a business card. And so we try to teach people that from the front end. Don't be surprised if that happens to you. And here's what this means. And here's what you do, because everyone does want to like be offended or, like be very upset or what does this mean for my credit? And it really doesn't mean anything at all. I think a lot of the times just a random check on their part. So yeah, just knowing you have someone you can go to, because if you give up at that point, then you give up on your flying free journey when you don't need to. You just have to reach out, find what's the next step and keep going,
Right. Yep.
I think my card didn't get approved immediately. I didn't get declined, but it also didn't get approved right away. It was just kind of like, we'll let you know.
That's unnerving, right?
Yeah. And so I did actually reach out to you and your team, and you all helped us with that and kind of explained it really quickly and easily on what that means and what you can anticipate and what happens if, right? You guys talked about the number to call and all that. So it was very helpful to have that, again, a resource that you can reach out to really easily.
And I didn't ask you, like, had you been doing anything with travel rewards before joining Families Fly Free? No. So you really just started with us, which is a great way to do it. Then you don't make any mistakes.
That was the key.
We're here.
Yeah, I mean, because like on YouTube, you can find all kind of people who talk about travel hacking and their process, and we were connected with some of those groups in their YouTube channels and whatnot. But I think for us, because of our credit aversion, credit card aversion, I should say, we just wanted a process that was a little simpler. Other programs have you applying for like 5 and 6 and 7 cards and all this kind of stuff. And we were just like, okay, that just seems overwhelming. Which one is the simplest and which one is the easiest? In your program and how you explained it seemed to be the most direct, straightforward, easy to follow, kind of dummy proof, if you will. So it was helpful for us.
Since you joined, what's been your favorite part of membership?
I think that's easy. The free flights.
Well, I know you guys said we featured you inside the membership as a featured member, and you said free flights for life. You didn't know that you could do that. I love that. That was a great. So yeah, tell us about, like, that was a surprise that you really could do that.
Yeah, I think you hear other people doing the travel hacking, and just like he was saying, there's so many channels and they show these lavish lifestyles and all of that, but you don't think it could be you. or for us, just with our background, we just didn't have that exposure. So to have actually been doing it, like you said, the past like 3 years or so, and seeing, oh, I don't have to pay for flights. We don't have to even think about the cost of the flight. Like that, when we want to travel, that is not a consideration. It's just, hey, where do you want to go? Okay, when do you want to go? Cool, got the points. And just book. Or if we need to move it around, we can just easily do that with the points of the Southwest. And it's just been really freeing to not have that stress. So with the trip, we're doing a Bahamas cruise, actually in next month. And you have the cost of the cruise and outfits, and but we didn't have to think about the flight, and that's just very reassuring.
So do you feel like that's enabled you to do more traveling than you would have done before?
Absolutely. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, to your question, I'd say probably. I think some of the trips we went on, maybe we would have still done them, but I think it would have come at obviously more of a financial cost. I think what the program has done for us is really, like she said, that peace of mind, really eliminates a barrier to travel.
Mhm.
Because you still have your time off from work, and you still have school, and you still have some of these other barriers you have to overcome to travel during the year as a family. But when we're ready to travel, the flight component, with the potential even for like hotels and other things, it's just not an issue. It just enables us to be able to travel a lot freer. But the problem with that though, is sometimes we forget that others don't have the same luxury.
Mhm.
So maybe our other family members or friends who don't kind of travel hack, if you will, they may not have that ease of travel. So when we were planning this friends and family cruise, for us, we're like, yeah, we just fly to Miami and get on the ship, but others don't have that opportunity or don't have that option right now.
Mhm.
So we had to be very mindful of that in planning a friends and family cruise, because they will have to pay for flights.
So can you quantify at all how much you think you've saved since you began this journey?
Then a couple $1,000s for sure, very easily. I think the biggest haul we got, other than the initial kind of bonus points and stuff, was during the Christmas issue last year with Southwest. We got caught up in that mess a little bit, with some of the delays and
Cancellation.
the cancellations and all of that. And so because we were in the program, we got information like right away on what to do, what websites to go to put in your information for reimbursement. And Southwest really took care of us and gave us just a ton. I mean, I think we ended up with almost 70,000 additional points, and then a couple of vouchers on top of that. So it was, I mean, that by itself paid for the membership for like 2 years, right? Like, so the value of that,
Mhm.
how many points that they gave us. And I mean, I still have over 100,000 points in my account. And then she just, did the second round of the companion pass. And so she has over 100,000 points. And so we just have like a ton of points, and we've been using them, and we still have a ton.
Mhm. Yeah, it was really nice as we were exploring places to relocate, where we could go to Virginia Beach, we could go, down to Dallas multiple times, and within a short time frame, to be able to look and get a good feel for the place and just not have that financial concern of the cost of the flight.
Mhm.
So that helped a lot as we were in our transition period for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely thousands of dollars, I don't know, more than three.
Yeah.
More than 3 grand, I would say for sure, easily.
Yeah. Easily.
And I love the relocation. I've never heard anyone mention that as a way they've used their miles and points. That's a good thing to think about. And we have a newer member who was right as she was joining, she was moving from like the West Coast to more of the East Coast. And we were able to strategize for her to stay to use the Southwest Hotels site to earn points as she was traveling with her family from where they used to live to where they're moving to. They had to stay in these hotels anyway. And so she was able to get herself a good way to the companion pass, just with that. So, there's all kinds of different ways, and that, customizing it to your unique situation, I think is an important part of it too. It isn't just a one size fits all, and you do have to kind of look at, are people brand new to this, or have they been doing it a while, and what do we need to shift?
Yeah, and just all the information that you have access to, all the education that you have access to. I mean, we're not even to be honest, we're not even fully leveraging the membership to the maximum that we could. But even just what we have learned, it's definitely been worth it. Of course, there's levels to it, right? And I think we're still kind of at the 101 stage, and there's, you know, 200 level, 300 level, 400 level that you can really take the travel hacking idea. And through the Families Fly Free program, you get access to so much content that you could take it as far as you want.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, even at a base level of, if you don't want to do the, multiple cards ongoing over the years, if you just want to stick with the companion pass and kind of just hang out there and then redo the companion pass and all of that, like, you can do that. You don't have to go as far. It's just all about what your comfort level is and what your goals are too. So it can be, like you said, catered to anyone depending on their situation.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Like, we are all about, as we've talked about, keeping it simple. And so there are some folks that are going to go super advanced, but most of us aren't. Most of us are working with 3 cards, maybe 4, forever, really, and doing the majority of our savings through, and that we are all proof that that works just fine instead of a wallet full of cards.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not flying first class every single trip, but we're going a lot of places for free, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I just wanted to ask you guys about school schedules, because I think you mentioned that, that there's times you can travel and times you can't. Are you on a traditional school schedule with your daughter, and has that been an issue for you at all?
With that, we just kind of plan it around her school schedule, and we can book it when we want, or if something changes with the points with Southwest, you can just adjust it. So the flexibility has been really nice.
Yeah, and then we do our family vacations in May. Um, Nothing special about that month. That just happened to be when we started taking family vacations. It's just kind of stuck, and so it's normally not a conflict with the school schedule. And then, of course, well, down here in Texas, their break schedule is a lot different than when we were in Minnesota. They get a lot more time off during the school year, or it's a little bit longer time periods, or different time periods, I should say. So it hasn't been a problem so far.
Mhm.
I think a
And it's
lot of
been
people
easier
think
being down here.
I'll say just that if you have to travel during school breaks, it's too expensive. Like, it's too many points, and that hasn't been. You've had plenty of points too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worked out just fine. And it's been easier down here with being in Dallas, we're the hub for Southwest, and to be able to get more direct flights. And it was a little bit of a challenge in Minnesota at moments, but you still make it work. But it's been a little bit easier now.
That's a good point to bring up, though, about what airport you're flying out of primarily. So flying out of Minneapolis, we oftentimes always have to take a connecting flight somewhere. We're flying out of Dallas. We get quite a few more direct flights to places. So that is one thing you have to kind of be okay with. Is if absolute speed is your priority, hopefully you're in a big hub for Southwest, because if you're in a smaller city or airport that doesn't have a lot of flights from Southwest, and you're gonna have to deal with that. But again, the balance of it is that the flight was basically free, right? So I'm good with it, right? I'm good with a hour layover if my flight's free.
Yeah, that's how I am too. Because if it's a matter of, I wouldn't take this flight otherwise, or I'd have to spend $500 for it, I always say I'll hang on the back of the plane. I don't care. Now, I don't love to go way out of the way for my connection. I usually avoid that, but Like we have from Indianapolis
Right.
to New York, they want to fly us to Texas now, which is very aggravating. I don't know why. Why can't we
Oh,
stop Washington, DC or something like that? I don't know. But yeah, normally, like I said, if it's free, I'm good.
mhm.
Right. You can make a lot of things work when it's free.
And even at the 200 level or maybe the 300 level, right? You can use your like flexible points to book other airlines. If you have like a
Right.
one-off like that, like we like to go to New York, but it's just, we can opt to spend more points and use those points to fly direct to different airline. You can't do that for
Right.
so what would you tell someone who maybe wasn't sure about joining because of the cost, or maybe they're already doing some travel rewards stuff themselves? What would you advise them about what to consider before joining?
Well, I think the person that we could probably speak to the best is the ones that are similar to us, who had really no exposure to travel rewards or travel hacking, or um, is coming into it, completely new. And that's just really make sure you have a good handle on your own personal finance and spending habits. Get really clear on that. Be really comfortable with that before you dip your toe into the travel rewards. And that's in any, whether you're with Families Fly Free or if you just do it on your own, if you go rogue, like you still need to be aware of your own personal habits. Um, and also just like know your limits, you know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be a lot of, like, as soon as we started doing uh, the points with Southwest and stuff, we started getting mailers from other credit card companies for hotels. And so now we kind of knew what that was talking about. 'Cause before we would get those mailers and just throw them away, right? We wouldn't even open the mail. But then we get one from like, a hotel chain, and they're like 150,000 points after 3 months. And we're like, wow, like, like we know what that's all about now. Like and that's tempting to just go ahead and do it. And it's like, well, slow down. Let's, you know what I'm saying, take our time and really stair step this thing, and be wise. But that's really the first thing, is just really have a good handle on your own personal finances um, before going deeper.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's important to know what you have coming in, know what you have going out, know what your bills are, because that's a part of it as you're using the cards as well. To know what you do spend in a month when there's the cards that have you need this amount within this many months, or can you meet that? What does your spending look like? So you're not feeling like you have to buy a bunch of random things, just to meet the minimum to be able to get the bonuses. So having a good handle on that is important. And I'd say to ask questions. If you're wondering something, just ask a question. Lynn, you make yourself so accessible. And even before someone signs up, they can talk with you and you can talk through their situation and help break down the process for them. So if you've been thinking about it a lot, but you just have been kind of hesitant, what question are you not asking? And make a point to ask that so you can get that clarified, because it may not be as big of a deal as you think. So
Right. It might be that small business card.
right, right. And there's a simple answer to it, but you're just not saying anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Closed mouth, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I am happy to answer questions because that's the same experience you're going to have inside the membership. We want to demonstrate that to you from the get-go, that we're real human beings and we're here. That's our whole job, is to help you be successful at this. All
It's
right.
funny that you say you're real.
I know I keep reading about AI. Like I am not, don't use AI. It's all put together by me, right?
Well, just like, I think sometimes it's rare to have access to someone like you, who started this program and got it going and are teaching other people. Sometimes that leader ends up just shooing you off to someone below them. They'll answer your question. I'm too busy. I'm too good. And that has never been our experience with you. So when we set up our consultation with you, it's like, oh, we're actually talking to Lynn, the Lynn we see on YouTube.
Oh God.
That like just that personal touch, I think is really special too, that you don't get with a lot of these different programs and companies too.
right? And a lot of these, travel reward sites and whatever have been bought by big companies now, and there might be a face to it, or they might not, that face might not be there anymore either, which is kind of sad. And I saw that happen before I started all of this. And I was so sad that those people went away. And so I just, I want to, yeah, for people to be able to have, because I do think that's a rare thing in this world that you get that personal caring access,
Yeah,
So thanks
for
for
sure.
mentioning that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think another thing I would say to people is, again, because we are in the information age, you can get access to this information in so many different ways, like travel hacking in general. 1,000,001 YouTube channels out there talk about travel hacking. Similar to like other things I do, I tell people like find an instructor or find a person that you um, kind of resonate with and just stick with their process for a little while. That's kind of why we stuck with Dave Ramsey. There's a lot of personal finance coaches and gurus out there, right, that you can listen to, and you can try to take one piece from them and one piece from them and one piece from them. That tends not to work, right? Like if you just stick with one program, do it as they tell you, until you gain a level of mastery over it, then you can go do your own thing. I would say the same thing with Families Fly Free. Like this is a really good systematic program that you can follow step by step. You don't have to overthink it. You have everything laid out. If you want to just take it one piece at a time, it's there for you. And then once you're comfortable, you kind of understand the game, you understand what's going on. Then if you wanted to remix it or do your own thing, fine. But like in that initial phase, it's good to just follow the program as it's put together because you've already done all the hard work, right? You've already bumped your head a bunch of times. You already learned the lessons and you've put it in the material. And then you have a community of people who also have, had successes and maybe made some mistakes that you can leverage. So, just use the resources you have available to you until, you gain your own level of comfort and mastery over it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that because I know like whenever I'm trying to learn anything new, I want to find someone that's figured it out and follow along with them. Why do I want to have to try to scrape it all together again
Right.
myself? Like it's such a time saver, really, is the main helps you just jump to whatever it is you're trying to do. If you can invest the time in watching the videos and whatever, the course or whatever you've done.
Right.
Um, it's just and a stress saver, I think, too. It's so stressful. Why does everyone have to recreate everything from scratch themselves, So you
Right.
can,
Exactly.
but do you want
Yeah, it's
to?
just adding
What?
barriers that aren't necessary. Yeah, making it more complicated.
Yeah.
And you need those wins, right? Like when you're paying off your debt and the whole debt snowball thing, the whole point of the process isn't like the most mathematically accurate thing. It's what makes you feel the best, the quickest. You want some success quickly, some quick wins. And the way you get those quick wins easily and quickly is following the process as it's laid out, right? It's gonna happen quickly if you just do it the way that it's laid out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love how he teaches you to pay your smallest balance first. And that is so true. It feels so good. I have been in credit card debt, when you pay that first one off. And then you're like, okay, I can do this. And now I can take that payment and add it to the next one. You do, it's that
Mhm.
psychological win, even though, like
Psychological
you said, it's
warfare,
not
yeah.
maybe the best mathematically way to do it. But can you share a travel tip since you've been traveling more over the last couple of years?
Yeah, here's a travel tip. Double check all your reservations. Um, we booked a hotel through the Southwest portal on one of our trips down to Dallas, and it was the two of us, our daughter, and then our mother-in-law. We flew her along with us, and this was on one of our house hunting trips.
Mhm.
And when we went to go check into the hotel,
Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day weekend, we go to the hotel, we go up to the counter and say, hey, we're here for our reservation, yada, yada. They're looking us up in the system. They're having a hard time finding us in the system. And they're like, yeah, your reservation was canceled. We're like, what? We didn't cancel our reservation. And, so it was this whole big thing. The booker, whatever the third party company that Southwest used to book the hotel canceled our reservation, didn't inform us.
Oh, wow.
it was a whole big thing. So we ended up not having accommodations because the hotel was booked out for that weekend. It was also like the weekend of a big golf tournament that was in town. Lots of other stuff was happening this particular weekend. They didn't have any vacancies. Thankfully for us, we had family in the area that were able to accommodate us, so we ended up staying with them. But if we didn't have that, we probably would have been in a tough spot to get a hotel, 2 hotel rooms that quickly and return same day. So
Mhm.
double check all your stuff before you go. You know, you may get your confirmations or whatnot, but just make sure
Mhm.
that everything is locked in, especially if you're using any kind of third party booking agency for like your hotels and rental cars and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Now, but how could you have, what would you have done differently with that? That's a
But
tough one.
we didn't call the hotel to confirm that they had our reservation in advance. We thought because we got the
Yeah.
confirmation that we were fine. Uh, but no, so that's what we did, double check. So
Okay.
that could have been something we could have done different just before, way before we even left, just making sure that they received our reservation.
You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so.
No.
This has burned us a couple times using third party bookings.
Mhm.
Even
Uh-huh.
if like Expedia or any of the other ones that you know of, it's not always perfect. So sometimes just getting a hold of the hotel
Mhm.
or the rent a car service or whatever you're using it for, getting a hold of them, 24 hours before you leave and just double confirm that they see your name in their system can be helpful. Because sometimes when we've used third party or programs for that, and it sometimes doesn't work all the time.
Mhm.
Most of
That's
the
a
time it
really
does,
good
but sometimes.
Yeah, because you're
Mhm.
right. Like third party bookings, they can be problematic, unfortunately. Then
Yeah.
the hotel or car rental agency is not as willing to help you, unfortunately, if you didn't book direct with them. That is one reason why I really like this Capital One Venture X. It allows you to book direct with a travel company, pay for it with that card, and then use your points to pay for it. But then you've booked direct. So you've
Hmm.
eliminated that third party issue, but you still can use your points to pay for the charge. But I think that's a good one to remember because I've never had that happen to me. That's the worst story I've ever heard. But I have had people just have a problem and then they're not very willing to help solve it, you know. I was I don't know where we were, but we were checking in like to an airport hotel one time, and the couple in front of me had booked the wrong night by mistake, and it was through Expedia or something like that. And they were like, "Sorry, can't help you. Call Expedia." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible." So,
Mhm.
We booked a cruise one time through a third party instead of directly with the cruise agency. They were running a promotion for like you get $500 to spend on the ship if you book within a certain time period. And we did book within that certain time period. So we get on the ship, we go concierge, and we're thinking we're about to get our $500 credit. And she's like, sorry, you don't qualify for that promotion. And we're like, why not? We booked everything. Here's our booking dates. We're clearly on the ship. I mean, like, what's going on? And she's like, well, it's because you booked through a third party, you don't qualify for the deal. You have to book directly with Royal Caribbean. And I was like, seriously? And she's like, yeah. And unfortunately, you would have got the same price on your
mm,
room if you would have booked directly, and you would have gotten that additional promotion. And we were just like, man, can't. Now
that
we
is
were a
a
little
bummer.
upset. So always
That's
be
good.
careful when you're using third party booking. Make
Double.
sure you double check, ask all the questions, and check directly with the whether it be the hotel or the cruise line, check directly with them because sometimes they're running the same promotion. You
Or
get the
they're both
same discount.
sometimes.
Yeah, price match. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, my tip would be get TSA PreCheck. For isn't there something with the Southwest card that you
yeah,
get
you get
reimbursed?
reimbursed if you when you do one of the cards. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you can get reimbursed for it. But that should save us so much time. We're walking past the long line and just literally almost every flight, we've been able to just walk right up, walk right up to it and not have to wait in long lines and just saves a lot of time. So that's been great having that as a perk.
I think you guys do a webinar on that in the Families Fly Free program, PreCheck versus global entry and all of that. And so we did watch that before we signed up. But yeah, PreCheck has been like, I use it for work. I mean, once you have it, you have it. So you can use it for any travel. And I travel for work quite a bit. I don't have to use my points for my work travel, but I can use my TSA PreCheck, and it's lovely.
Right up. So especially with the
My
kid.
tip would be on
Mhm.
that is make sure it's printed on your boarding pass because that's happened.
That
That's
too.
right.
Yes, that's happened to us too. Like for me, it was the companion. Like even though we put it in when we booked, the companion, it didn't carry over or something like that. So I get up to the, TSA PreCheck line and he's looking at he's like, nope, you got but you can add it quickly on, or you can go to the desk and they can fix it for you. But yes, double checking that is huge too, just to save that time.
Yeah, when we were just coming back from Costa Rica, we went through Baltimore and we had to like get our bags, recheck them because we were coming in from international, and then we had to go back through security. And for some reason, TSA PreCheck was not on my son's, so we're like, ah, good grief. And so I went through the regular line with him. My husband went through the TSA line, and we beat my husband. That was really funny. I was I don't know, for some reason they were really slow over on the TSA PreCheck side at Baltimore, and we were like in a hurry to try to get to our next flight or whatever. So anyway, but yeah, most of the time, it is much faster than the regular line. That was a
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Right. So you guys mentioned you have a YouTube channel. Do you want to share?
We haven't been as active recently. We started it during the pandemic, and it was really a channel to kind of help give different perspectives on things, encourage people,
And live their
live
dream.
their dream, go after the things that they want, like travel, for an example.
Mhm.
We actually talked about travel quite a bit because that's a very aspirational thing for a lot of people. You ask them, what would you do if you were retired, or what would you do if you had time? And most people say travel,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, okay, well, how can you do that now? How can you bring that goal into your present moment? Travel hacking obviously is an option for that, right? But there are opportunities out there that people can take advantage of, but if they don't put in the time to learn and explore, they wouldn't know. So that's our YouTube channel, Soul Journey Project. We still have videos up. It's still an active channel. We just haven't posted anything in like a year. But
Yeah, but we're also moving and all of that too. That took up a lot of time, and we'll be revamping it as well to include more of a therapy and life coaching aspect as well. So more to come. Soul Journey Project.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Mm.
Okay. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I think I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that he found you and and shared it with me. And it's just been a wonderful experience to be a part of Families Fly Free. And like I said, to actually be getting free flights and to not have that stressor when it comes to wanting to go somewhere. I literally don't even think about it anymore, which is very unusual, right? That's the number one thing most people think about. How much is the flight? So it's just been a great opportunity, and the resources that we have through you all too, to ask questions at any point, and you're very quick at getting back to us as well is great. You don't get the 5 business days will respond like you would with some like bigger companies. So I'm just grateful for it.
and for me, I would say that it's possible, right? If you're a person that is on the fence, or you're curious about travel hacking, or just wanting to find a way to travel more cost effectively, this is possible for really anyone can do it. Now, there might be more prerequisites for some over others, depending on their financial situation, their credit situation. But if they're willing to put in a little bit of work, anybody can do this and have minimally free flights. And if you take it even further, there's other opportunities that you could explore as well. But I think there's really not a ton of excuses or reasons why people can't at least fly free today, especially through Southwest. They make it so easy. It's almost like they promote it themselves. The way how easy they make it to access their points, and the fact that you can cancel flights same day and get all your points back. I mean, that's amazing, right? Like that's the time that was really cool. So, and you don't get that from other airlines. So I think anybody can do it. It's possible. Just put in the work, for whatever your situation is and be a benefit to you.
I love it. Great advice. It is possible for anyone. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story with others. And you'll have to let us know how your Bahamas cruise goes. That sounds fun with friends and family. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great week and stay tuned for
Thank
the
you.
next episode.